The cafe was unusually crowded that morning, filled with the hum of laptops, clinking cups, and the soft chatter of people escaping the rush of the city. But among all those sounds, one stood out sharply. The piercing cry of a baby. At the corner table sat Daniel Pierce, one of the most powerful CEOs in the city. His sharp suit, polished watch, and commanding presence turned heads everywhere he went. But right now, none of that mattered. What people noticed wasn't his reputation, nor his wealth, it was the tiny baby in his arms, crying uncontrollably. Daniel looked exhausted, his tie loosened, his hair slightly disheveled. The baby's wails echoed through the cafe, drawing annoyed glances from customers. Some whispered under their breath. Others shook their heads. Daniel tried bouncing his child, whispering softly, but nothing worked. For the first time in years, the man who controlled entire boardrooms felt utterly powerless. That's when Emily, a young waitress, approached. Emily was 24, working double shifts just to afford rent. Her sneakers were worn thin, and her apron had faded stains no amount of washing could fix. Life hadn't been kind to her. But she always carried a warm smile, one that hid the struggles she endured every day. She noticed Daniel's frustration, the judgmental stares from the crowd, and the baby's tears that refused to stop. Carefully, she set down the tray she was carrying and stepped closer. "Excuse me, sir," she said gently. "May I?" Daniel looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" She motioned toward the baby. "Sometimes, it just takes a different touch." He hesitated. This was his child, his whole world. He wasn't used to trusting strangers, especially with something so precious. But in Emily's eyes, he saw no judgment, no annoyance, just kindness. And so, reluctantly, he handed over his baby. To everyone's astonishment, the moment Emily cradled the child against her chest, the cries began to soften. She hummed softly, swaying gently as though she'd done it 1,000 times before. Within minutes, the baby let out a tiny sigh and drifted into sleep. The cafe fell silent. Customers who had been rolling their eyes now watched in awe. Daniel stared at Emily, baffled. "How did you do that?" Emily smiled faintly. "I used to take care of my baby sister when my mom worked double shifts. Babies, they just need to feel safe." Her words pierced deeper than she realized. Because Daniel, beneath his steel exterior, knew exactly what she meant. His wife had passed away a year ago, leaving him to raise his daughter alone. He had all the wealth in the world, but in moments like this, he felt empty, lacking the one thing money couldn't buy: gentle, human connection. He cleared his throat. "Thank you. You don't know how much this means." Emily shook her head. "You don't have to thank me. It's what anyone would do." But Daniel knew better. Not everyone would have stepped in. Most had turned away, irritated. She, despite her own struggles, had chosen compassion. As she carefully handed the baby back, Daniel noticed her hands trembling slightly. Her nails chipped, her fingers rough, signs of long hours and hard work. Something stirred in him. Later, as he prepared to leave, Daniel stopped at the counter. "Excuse me," he asked another barista quietly, "what's her name?" "Emily," they replied. "She's one of the hardest workers we've got. Always covering shifts, always helping out." That night, Daniel couldn't shake the memory of Emily calming his child. Her selflessness, her quiet strength, it haunted him. So the next morning, when Emily walked into her shift, she froze. There on the bulletin board was a notice: "The cafe is under new ownership." Confused, she asked her manager, "What happened?" Before anyone could answer, Daniel walked in, his baby nestled peacefully in his arms. The staff went silent. Daniel looked directly at Emily. "I bought this cafe. And I'd like you to be the manager." Her eyes widened in shock. "Me? Sir. I'm not qualified. I barely make ends meet. I don't even have a degree. Daniel smiled. Qualifications can be taught. Kindness cannot. Yesterday, you showed me something priceless, that true care doesn't come from wealth, but from the heart. I want this cafe to represent that. And I want you to lead it. Tears welled in Emily's eyes. She thought of her unpaid bills, the nights she'd gone hungry, the times she'd almost given up. And now, this? A chance to change everything? The cafe customers erupted into applause, many recognizing Emily from the day before. She stood there, overwhelmed, as Daniel placed a small envelope in her hand. Inside was not just her first month's salary as manager, but also a scholarship form, for her to study business, fully funded. Her voice broke. Why me? Daniel's answer was simple, but unforgettable. Because when the world turned away, you stepped forward. And that is what leadership looks like. From that day, the cafe transformed. It wasn't just a place for coffee anymore, it became a place where kindness brewed stronger than any espresso. Customers came not just for the drinks, but for the warmth that Emily infused into every corner. And as for Daniel, he often returned, his baby now giggling happily in Emily's arms. He no longer felt like the lonely man in the corner. He felt like he'd found something he hadn't realized he was searching for, a reminder that humanity, at its core, is about lifting each other up. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can change the course of two lives forever. Sparkle's moral: true wealth isn't measured in dollars or power, but in compassion. When we choose to step forward for others, we create ripples that can change the world.